and welcome to the Gotham Outsiders. I'm your host, Bad Obsessive Chris, and with me as always is my co-host, TJ.
Hello, everyone. I'm your Chris Proclaimed Batman acolyte, and we have a very exciting guest with us tonight.
Yes.
A blue guest, perhaps?
Maybe a bit beetly. Writer of Hulkling and Wiccan, as well as the creator of Aaron Fisher in the United States of Captain America over at Marvel, and has written for Batman Urban Legends and Batman/FaZe Clan and The Flash's Pied Piper. But most recently, he has been working on Blue Beetle. We have Josh Trujillo with us tonight. Hello, Josh.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, no, I'm so excited to have you here. I'm a big fan of your Hulkling Wiccan stuff, and this Blue Beetle series is so good.
It's so good. We both enjoyed the first issue so much.
I'm very excited for everyone to read it. Because it came out as of this recording yesterday.
Yeah.
So it's out in the world. It's real.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it so much. And I was researching you tonight, and we saw that you also worked on the Telltale Batman video game, the second one. Chris and I are big fans of that.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I worked on a lot of games for Telltale. I worked a little bit on the Batman one, but I will say that being in the room for some of those conversations was incredible. Working with the voice actors and designing things, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Oh, wonderful.
Well, we're just going to jump right into it. We have a warm-up question that we ask most of our interview guests. So who is your favorite Bat detective or the best Bat detective? This could be in the Bat family or the DC universe in general. What is your opinion?
My favorite Bat detective. I'm a ride or die spoiler fan.
Yes.
But here's the thing. I don't think that Stephanie Brown's greatest strength is being a detective. You know what I mean?
That's fair. Yeah.
She's not the world's greatest detective. She doesn't try to be the world's greatest detective. She's just cool and has her gadgets and just trying to keep it together. Her dad's always trying to kill her. You know, she's got her own struggles going on.
Yeah.
Tim Drake is obviously, I think, the best detective. And now that he's family, we're so happy to have him.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, that's what we like to hear. So Stephanie is the best in your heart, is what I'm hearing.
Oh yeah, Steph is number one in my heart.
Love her.
Tim is climbing up the ranks, though. The new Tim stuff has been so good.
Yes, a man of taste, I see. So what is your relationship with Batman, the franchise and the character? And how did you first get into the concept as a fan? And since we're talking about Blue Beetle, same question for him too.
Okay, so I'll start with Batman. So I probably like most kids growing up in America or maybe around the world, I've always known Batman. I can remember being 3 years old and being at the theme park, and they would have these little suction cups with long strings attached. And then Batman and Robin were hanging from it. So it looked like they were climbing up the building in the Adam West Batman. And so I remember wanting those and begging my family for those toys. Because I grew up slightly before Batman the Animated Series. So the Batman movie had just barely come. Batman 89 came out after my first memories of Batman. So Adam West was really my Batman for a minute. And then I had Batman birthday parties. They had a little cake in the shape of the Batmobile. I remember the Batman Returns Batmobile had this plastic clamshell over it because it was supposed to mimic the shield that the Batmobile takes on when the Penguin's trying to break into it. Anyway, so love Batman.
I love that.
And then just since then, it's all the hits I think all the 90s kids love. The animated series was huge for me. I'm watching it every day on Fox Kids. Or the movies. I thought Batman Forever was mind-blowing. And then even Batman and Robin, I totally dug. It's one of those things. Do you guys ever watch movies where you're this while you're experiencing it? It's this is the best movie I've ever seen.
Yes.
And then you walk out and you look to your left and you look to your right, and no one else is vibing the same way you are.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think history is one, though. I think we all collectively agree that Joel Schumacher was ahead of his time and knew exactly
100%.
what he was doing.
Yeah, that movie was for the gays. So that's why we love it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Now, what about Blue Beetle? Did you have a similar relationship with that character growing up, or was that a more recent development?
I remember reading the Ted Kord Blue Beetle, the second of the three Blue Beetles, in Justice League International reprints. And so this was like him and like Booster Gold and Fire and Ice and Red Rocket and the whole gang. And like I thought Ted was like kind of funny and quippy.
Yes.
But when Jaime first appeared, it felt like the heavens had parted or something.
Mm.
My first memory of Jaime, I'm sure I read the comic before the card, but there's this trading card game called Versus System that had
Yeah.
Marvel heroes versus DC heroes. You could never do that today, but at the
Oh.
time, you could have like like a Batman deck fight like an X-Men deck.
Amazing.
So they had a Blue Beetle card that coincided with Infinite Crisis. And I was like, who is this guy? Like, this is such a cool look. And like, he has like a very useful power in the game. He could like fetch equipment. And so like, I was like, this is cool. And then the comic came out, the John Rogers, Keith Giffen, Coley Hamner run. And like, that was like revolutionary. I hadn't read a teen hero, I think, up until that point, honestly, because it's mostly like was reading like heavier stuff like Kingdom Come, Dark Knight Returns, kind of like X-Men, God Loves Man Kills, and like, you know, a little like admittedly kind of joyless. And like Jaime's books are always like filled brimming with joy and like heart. And like that's something that really gravitated towards me with the character.
Yeah. I think that really
100%.
shines through in your new series too. Like I've only read issue 1, of course, but like I just keep saying it's so fun. So joyful. And like that's such a good way to put it. I had never heard of Blue Beetle until the Young Justice TV show, which came out.
Oh, sure.
I think it was like 12 years ago. It just had the anniversary. So I wanted to ask for you, like how do you feel about that show and like that iteration of the character? Because I know it means a lot to a lot of people.
You know, in talking to people about Blue Beetle these past couple months, more people I want to say are familiar with the character through Young Justice, through Batman Brave and the Bold, and through even Smallville. It's hard to remember, but like Blue Beetle appeared on Smallville like a year after he debuted in the comics. Like
I forgot about that.
From the get-go, DC Comics was like, this is our guy. And like they were trying to find a way to like really make him stick. And now we have the movie coming out soon.
Yes.
But like I love him in Young Justice. I love the whole Reach plot they came up with. The guy who did Young Justice also did that show Gargoyles from way back when.
Yes, I love Gargoyles.
And so it's like he writes these incredibly densely plotted cartoons, which is like that's the good stuff that keeps you coming back every week.
Yes,
I'm a recovering Bluepulse shipper. That's a Blue Beetle and Impulse from Young Justice. So that was like I was a teenager when the show was coming out originally. So like my Tumblr days, I was like, yeah. But you know, we know how that ended for me. One day, make it happen. Issue 2, right?
Yeah, issue 2. Impulse is back, baby.
You heard it here first, everyone.
Okay. So are you excited for the upcoming Blue Beetle movie? And if you could pass along any advice or suggestions to the team behind the movie, what would you say?
I'm very excited about the movie. It feels like, I don't know, it feels crazy that I get to write this character that's going to be in a movie. Obviously, I have nothing to do with the movie, but just like that is incredible.
Right.
But like the actor they got, Zolo, to play Jaime is like the most perfect casting I think I've ever seen in a comic book movie, like 1 for 1, like out of this world. I would just say like as long as they keep like his family and his friends and his like heart, I think that's going to be the real test. But like I have a feeling that they got it right. Like the costume looks just like Coley Hamner drew it. The world feels exciting and vibrant. It sounds like they're going to include some Spanish based off of some interviews I've seen. And like I think I don't know. I have a really good feeling about this one.
Oh, good. I'm so excited.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like it seems like everyone's very passionate about it. Just like Batgirl, but sorry, in my mind,
so sad.
All right.
No comment.
So in the back of my mind, I feel like Batgirl and the Blue Beetle movie were both kind of in the same conversation. So in the back of my mind now, I'm like, please don't cancel Blue Beetle. I want it so bad. And it seems so genuine.
I mean, I know less than you do, but I think they've confirmed time and again that this movie's happening. And if not,
Yeah.
I will break into the Warner Brothers vault and watch it myself.
We'll help you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You can tell us what happened. I already mentioned that we loved the Batman Telltale video games, especially that version of the Joker and his relationship with Bruce.
Yeah.
So digging into you tonight, we noticed that you covered the episode where the Joker and Bruce go on like a fake date. I don't know if you remember that scene. Okay,
Oh
so
yeah.
can you shed some light on the writing process of like that episode, that game, and any specific scenes you wrote?
So the scene in question was written by my friend Ross Bealey, super talented writer, and he was really like our Joker whisperer for that entire series.
Yeah.
He was kind of a tough nut. That character was kind of a tough nut to crack because he's been
Absolutely.
done so well in so many different ways. You know, if you get too goofy, he's like the Cesar Romero Joker. If you get too vicious, he's kind of like the Heath Ledger Joker. So like, where does he fit in on that? And part of the fun of that game was like, you kind of build your own Joker over the course of the story, right? Like your choices matter. So there's a lot of like figuring out what to do with this, with the Joker. And Ross just had a very clear idea of like, he and Bruce should be friends. And like, they're going to go for coffee together. And they're just going to talk like bros. And like that scene in particular, I think just perfectly crystallized so much of it. I worked on, in that same episode, there are a couple scenes that with Selena, and a couple scenes, I think they go into the Riddler's lab, if I recall. And I spent like a couple of days like writing just riddles, which was really hard. I'm understanding now why Riddler stories are sometimes like tough for writers. Because when you have to write someone that's smarter than everyone else in the room, you have to be smarter than everyone else in the room.
Chris, do you remember, Chris? Josh, are you familiar with Kent Mutal? He was one of the directors of the game.
Yeah, I know Kent.
So he's been on our show a few times. He's a friend of our pod. We're gonna have him back soon. We really love chatting with him. But we did a whole game segment where he and I were trying to solve riddles. It was very funny.
It was the worst game we've ever done, and that
He did
nobody
so
could
good,
solve them.
though. He did okay. Maybe he just did way better than I did.
I mean,
but-
it was a rough one. It was rough. I did not write those riddles, though. I can attest. We just stole other people's riddles for that.
Yeah, Kent was our tried and true director, and we owe him everything for the success of Batman, The Enemy Within.
He's wonderful. He was shedding light for us of the game's extreme gayness. So thank you as well for contributing to that.
Oh yeah, he just hit that make it gay button like over.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Oh, perfect. So how did you get to be writing for DC Comics? What was your journey like?
Let's see. I was self-publishing books, and I was also doing some Adventure Time graphic novels for Cartoon Network. And from there, I got a chance to do a creator-owned series for Boom Studios called Dodge City. And Dodge City is in a lot of ways kind of like a Blue Beetle prototype. It wasn't designed to be that way, but it has a Latino lead, and there's a lot of Spanish language dialogue in it without subtitles. And it's just kind of a frantic, fast-paced, energetic, positive book. And because of that, I got an editor at DC's attention. And she's like, oh, you're the perfect guy for Blue Beetle. And this was in 2018. Yeah, that sounds right. That's not 2008. This was 2018. And so it's been a slow process of kind of getting the book together. It was originally going to be, a mini, then it was going to be maybe a one shot, then it was going to be this or this or this and this. And then finally, they had this DC round robin competition last year. They had one this year too, where creative teams kind of compete in a bracket style elimination challenge. And so the winning creative team gets to do a mini series at DC Comics with their pitch. And so it was stuff like the Suicide Squad or Green Lantern Kyle Rayner, or the winner was a Robins book featuring all the Robins together.
Yes.
And so Blue Beetle was in the running. We got to the semifinals. I'm very proud of our team. We don't have like a name like for like Beetle heads. You know what I mean? Like we need like something.
I remember that first competition was really heated. Like in the fan base, like people were really passionate, especially about the Blue Beetle book.
Yeah, I definitely felt like we had the wind to our backs because we were going up against like some really incredible creators and also like really great characters. Like the first one, I think we went up against Night Runner, who's a Batman Incorporated character.
Yeah.
And I was like, I almost want to surrender because I want Night Runner to win.
Oh, I know.
I remember the first round robin clearly because the JLQ pitch lost in the first round.
Aw.
We were very bitter about it.
IRP. I mean, RIP.
RIP. They got a short story. They'll be back one day.
Yes.
And if not, there's plenty of queer rap happening in DC right now.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Never
yes.
enough, but a lot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we're obviously talking about Blue Beetle graduation day. Can you tell us a little bit about the book and the plot and what inspired you to tell this specific story with the Blue Beetle character?
Yeah, it was something that my editor, Andrew Marino, and I kind of went back and forth a lot about. But we both felt like Jaime had kind of grown a little bit past his most innocent early days. He'd been through crisis after crisis after crisis, and fans were really familiar with the character because of Young Justice, because of Brave and the Bold, because of this. And so the question was like, well, where does Jaime go next? What is the next step for this character? Is he going to lean into his hero side? Is he going to kind of stay in El Paso? What is going on there? And we thought that was like a really ripe question because a lot of people, myself included, when you graduate high school, sometimes you don't have a plan.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need to figure something out real quick. And whether that means odd jobs, whether that means going to school for something you're not necessarily passionate about, whether that means staying close to home, whatever it is. And so navigating that with a character that has the most powerful artifact of the DC universe attached to his back was really interesting because you have someone with so much potential, but also like where he doesn't know what he wants necessarily. And so this graduation day is a lot about finding out what's next for Jaime, what's next for Blue Beetle, and like in turn, because of the nature of the threat we're facing, like what's next for the entire DC universe.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned like the popularity of the Young Justice show, just because that's the only thing I had ever seen him in. So I was kind of worried jumping into this that I wouldn't be able to follow it, but it really felt like a natural step from watching him in that show.
Yeah.
For better or worse, like it just felt like a very good place for me to be able to jump on. So I'm sure that's the same for a lot of people.
Yeah, a big hope of our book was to kind of make it accessible to newer readers or people who only know Jaime through like any of those shows or even in the Injustice video games.
Oh, yeah.
There have been people who've reached out to me and they're like, Jaime's my guy. And I'm like, oh, really? Did you like the comics? And they're like, oh, I didn't realize they were comics. I only like it from Injustice.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll take it, but you need to start reading my comics right now.
Right. 100%. What do you hope your readers take from your version of this character?
I always go back to Jaime's heart. You know, it's really, I think that's something that makes him stand out. There's a lot of cynicism sometimes in the world in general. And I think it's kind of, people need to see a little bit of joy and need to see a little bit of empowerment. And I think Jaime is such a great vessel for that. The DC universe is, when it's not facing a major crisis, is such a fun and uplifting and vibrant and weird place. And I can't think of a better character to kind of explore that than Jaime. And also like he just represents, you know, he represents a flavor of the DC universe we don't get enough of. And I think it's just been a long time coming for him to really take center stage.
Yeah, I love that. Issue 1 came out in both English and Spanish, which was a really big deal, especially with this character and what he means to Spanish-speaking audiences. Can you talk a little bit about that decision and how it came about?
Yeah, like I said, with my Dodge City book, we did have Spanish language dialogue without translation, and the response to that was pretty overwhelmingly positive. And I knew that if I was going to approach Blue Beetle, I wanted to take it a little bit further than that and see what we could push. You know, Jaime grows up, lives in a bilingual household. He lives in a bilingual community. He is of these two worlds. You know, he is of that English-speaking world, that Spanish-speaking world. He is of that living in El Paso world and also this cosmic space destiny world. And so he's kind of split between that. And sometimes Spanish-speaking characters, this isn't specific to Jaime at all, but sometimes we get this kind of like Spanglish, and it feels a little inauthentic to the way that I've interacted with people who speak Spanish in my life. And And so to include like full conversations in Spanish for me was really important. And I was kind of surprised that DC was so not only supportive, they took it a step further. They're like, oh, we love the idea of you including Spanish. Well, let's publish the entire thing in Spanish. And I was like,
incredible.
what? So like, this is something they don't do like for pretty much any character. And so for them to do it with Jaime really showed that they're trying to like make inroads to new audiences and also just like treat the longtime fans well. Like they're going to do all 6 issues in Spanish and English, which is a thrill. And then we're going to continue as like the first issue, kind of sprinkling in Spanish language when it's appropriate. And like I should also say that the Spanish in the Blue Beetle English editions, it doesn't detract from the story. You know, these are small character moments that you might be kind of like, oh, what does that mean? And I'd encourage people to either pull out their phone and do the Google Translate or whatever translation app you do, or I guarantee you someone in your life speaks Spanish and this would be a great conversation piece.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic.
And it felt very natural in the issue. And like it even added character because like when Superman is speaking Spanish with it's his mother, right?
Yeah, with Jaime's mother.
Oh, that made me so happy.
It just like it says so much about Superman as a character, even if you've never seen him before. So I loved how you used it.
Oh, I was so happy that they let me write Superman speaking Spanish. It isn't the first time it's happened, but special. It's the first time I've done it.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. So we also really enjoyed Fadeaway as a character. Is this character original to this book? I love the casual non-binary rep and their design. What went into writing the character, and can we expect to see them again before the story's over?
Oh, great question. I'm glad that you like Fadeaway. The design that Adrian did, Adrian Gutierrez, my artist, and Will Quintana, the colorist, who I owe a lot of credit to for Fadeaway's vibrancy and that design. But there's an old DC villain by the name of Fadeaway Man, Louis Lamont, I believe is his name. And he's kind of just this like old gray-haired man with a magic cloak and like to steal magic from Hawkman or whatever, which is like, it's cool. He's cool for his time. But I was like, we need to like, it's the DC universe. We're all about legacy here. What does the modern Fadeaway look like? And so for me, that was like Lamont's grandchild, who is non-binary. And we're kind of, you see them in the first issue. You're going to see more of them coming up in the miniseries. They have a role to play for sure.
Ooh,
and just to have like casual non-binary rep was so cool to me. It sounds like I'm definitely like infiltrating Jaime's universe with a lot more diversity than just that. But like for me, I want a vibrant and colorful world. And I like queer villains as much as I like queer heroes.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah.
And it just feels so natural too. Like again, bravo.
Yes.
The family dynamic we've kind of talked about a little bit, but it seems very integral to Jaime and this story. Can you talk about those relationships and how you wanted to portray them here?
Yeah, Jaime's family, like, you know, he has a large family, not just of his Berto and Bianca, his parents, or Milagro, his sister, but he also has Paco and Brenda, his best friends, and he has the whole hero community behind him. He's been on the Teen Titans, he's been on the Justice League. And so he has a big surrounding community. And for me, Jaime is the central core of that, even though he doesn't realize it. He really is that like moral center, I think, to these communities. And in the first issue, Superman tells him kind of as much. It's all about family, like never lose sight of that. Which, you know, if you read the first issue, you know, his family loves him so much, they're kicking him out of the house. So
I hate when that happens. That also happened to me.
Yeah.
So I wanted to celebrate that. Yeah. And kind of play into that. We're going to see a couple more characters in Jaime's family that have not been seen before. We're going to see his tias, his aunts, Maricel and Gloria. And we're going to see a kind of a new city in the DC universe in issue 2. But yeah, his family he has the best supporting cast in comics. The trick is just finding room for all of them.
I love that.
Are his aunts sisters or are they like romantic?
I hate to spoil anything, but I think you're onto something there.
Okay. As long as it's not both.
No, it's absolutely not both.
Too much Game of Thrones recently.
No.
Oh no. Oh, so we also have to talk about the absolutely stellar art and colors in this issue from Adrian Gutierrez and Will Quintana. Adrian brings a sort of manga vibe with Will's colors just popping vibrantly off the page. The contribution and the combination is just plain fun. How do you think their art has elevated what you wrote, and what was the collaboration like with them?
Yeah, so Adrian and Will, they're my Blue Beetle brothers, and Lucas Gattoni and Andrew Marino. Lucas is the letterer who deserves a lot of credit for
Yeah.
he not only lettered the English edition but he also did the Spanish language version,
Wow.
which is incredible. And so Adrian really brings a lot of like he brings this kind of frantic energy to it. Every pose, every facial expression, it just feels like it's in motion. It's very kinetic.
Yes.
And Will kind of elevates the color palette is so vibrant and distinct, but also like it's hard to wring a lot of emotion sometimes for characters wearing armor.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure we've all looked at like an Iron Man comic or something and we're like, are you sad, Tony? Are you how are you feeling right now, Tony?
So real.
So that's the struggle, right? But like Adrian's able to get these huge expressions out of Jaime's face, and Will's able to like color it so it looks like it just came out of the dealership. I mean, the last page of issue 20, issue 1, page 22, when we reveal the new character, I like my breath was gone. I was like, oh my God, like you took Adrian's art, which is already so dynamic, but you make it feel three-dimensional with the way that it's colored.
Do you have a favorite panel from issue 1? I personally love the one where Jaime's expression gets really funny when Superman wants to talk to him alone. Like the whole book is beautiful, but this one I was reading it and it got a good laugh out of me.
Oh yes.
Yeah, like Adrian's facial expressions are so good. And going into the book, I wanted to kind of crib a little bit from my big influences in comics, which one of the big DC books I've read, like I said, Justice League International, that kind of DeMatteis, McGuire, those big faces, those wild expressions, those like, you know, picking their nose, you know what I mean? Just like funny as human moments. Because these are, you have to look at the absurdity of these people in their costumes too, that they're real people. And so my favorite panel of Jaime's, he makes this really insane face on the last page that I was like, this is too much. But then I like fell in love with it. And then also the Superman panel where we reveal Superman eating elote. That was really special to me.
That was so great.
Because I was like, they're letting me do this? Okay.
I love it.
Yeah, the whole book is just so beautiful. Like I picked that panel just because of the laugh that got out of me, but like so many of them, like him in space with the stars, just the art, just
incredible.
Can't say enough good things about it.
Yeah, I mean, Adrian's been thinking about this character since the round robin competition last year, and really, it's only because of, I should say, the fandom and the enthusiasm for the character that we're able to do this miniseries at all. And like, it feels like we're doing a victory lap, honestly. Like we did the impossible, we got this Blue Beetle series going, and like the reaction has been so positive so far. Yeah, I'm very, very lucky and grateful to be working with my team on this.
So did you like know or feel like this miniseries was inevitable in that competition? Like, or did it feel like the Hunger Games is what I'm asking?
I will say about the round robin, you know, it's stressful, the pitch process at all. You know, just pitching a comic and like coming up with all that, doing all the groundwork and doing all the research, and then like sending it to an editor and not knowing when they'll get back to you. But like, this is that in a very public facing way. And that can be tough. But Adrian and I were constantly reassured by the fans, honestly. And I felt like I said, I felt like we had the wind to our backs. I felt like people were really excited about us, and like we had a good bracket, you know, we had a good chance of sliding in. And I'm so proud of like the preview pages we were able to do. Keen viewers may notice that the preview pages from the round robin, we're able to use some of them in the Blue Beetle issue here. So but the story has changed kind of quite a bit since then. So it's interesting to see how much has changed from my initial outline to what is actually out now.
Yeah.
I would encourage any creator to take part in the round robin. Just turn off your notifications and you'll be fine. Do not hover over. Do not term search the name of your pitch. Like,
Oh no.
don't do any of that.
Yeah, it sounds like, I mean, people really wanted this story, and I think it
Yeah.
was needed. So it was fate that it exists.
Yeah, exactly.
So Superman and Batman both make cameos in this issue, and you've written both of them previously. Is it difficult to get into the heads of these iconic characters who are so different? And how do you think Jaime as a character and hero compare to them?
Ooh, so I hope people like my take on Superman because I find it really easy to write him.
Yeah.
It's because he is the moral center of the DC universe. He's for our Marvel fans, he's a Captain America. You know, he is the bedrock, and like he's always true to himself and always morally right. And like that's fun. And so like when you're in a hard-pressed position where you're trying to make the right call, Batman's kind of the other side of that, right? So like to see them bounce off of each other is really interesting. This was my first chance to see them interact, and I was surprised by like how quickly that scene kind of came together. It's a small scene. They're talking about Jaime and their different approaches on what they want from Jaime's future and like what they want to do in regard to this new threat with Jaime. Like that created some daylight between them, and I want to explore that further as the miniseries goes on. But writing Batman's always fun. I've had more chances at bat with, sorry to pun, but more times at the plate with Batman than Superman thus far. But it's a thrill to write both of them.
Yeah, I can attest. I love how you write Superman. He was perfect. I don't know if you ever read the Wonder Twins, but Mark Russell did, but he felt like that Superman to me, which was my favorite. So
Yeah, he had those dad vibes going on.
the dad vibe, super dad.
He has that a lot lately.
And even in like the original, I don't know if you guys read like the original Animal Man.
No.
Like they do some funny things with Superman in there where they really humanize him.
Yeah.
Like he's having a conversation with Animal Man and he's like, oh, hold on. Oh, there's a plane crashing. Oh, I got it. Okay, I'll be right back. And he like saves the day and he comes right back and like tries to finish his conversation. And just like stuff like that.
Oh, love it.
Yeah. No, I can't wait to see what you do with both of them.
Yeah. So you brought up earlier Tim Drake being part of the family now, which we talk about all the time. And also there are many other DC characters that have recently been coming out. Can you talk about this recent increase in queer DC characters and what it means to you?
Yeah, so it means the world to me. I will say that I'm very happy that John Kent is in our world now.
Yes.
We love our bisexual icons, but I will say I'm a little heartbroken because I've always shipped Connor Kent and Tim Drake.
Us too.
I had a feeling we were gonna go there. I always want to go there.
You know, queers of a certain age, there's just something about that Teen Titans run. That friendship is special.
It is.
And even in the original Young Justice. But it means a lot to me that like DC is able to tell queer stories and put characters like Dreamer to the forefront. Huge Dreamer stan here.
Yes.
Dreamer play a role in Lazarus Planet and all sorts of other stuff in the future, I'm sure. But like, it just means a lot. Like, you know, when I was first getting into DC, I believe there was no queer representation. The queerest book we had on the stand, I think, was Mark Andreyko's Manhunter. And it featured Obsidian in a very supporting role. And that was later in the run. And so it wasn't until Batwoman that like the doors just blew off the hinges. And suddenly we were filled with like, you know, Renee Montoya came out in Gotham Central, or queer characters starting to pop in and out of the Teen Titans, or just figuring that out.
Yeah.
So, like, it's really exciting now, just also as a storyteller, to get to tell queer superhero stories. I'm sure you guys know, if you follow me on social media, I'm low-key obsessed with Bunker.
Yes, I love Bunker.
Yes.
Bunker's vibes are unmatched. Me and my collaborator, Josh Trujillo, talk about Bunker in the middle of the night. He just texts me and he says Bunker, and I'm like, where do you want to begin? Like, but like, so the fact that we have so many different types of queer voices within DC on the creative side and also the characters, And of course, we're filling up the universe as quickly as we can with more queer rep.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah, you talked about TimKon. I always want to bring up TimKon, so I'm glad I wasn't the first one to do it here. Yeah, we talk about on the show a lot, like, do we think it's gonna happen one day? And I'm on team, like, I think it's gonna happen eventually. Because like talking to people like you, I'm like, you're a great writer. I know you're gonna be around for a while. So I'm like, how can it not happen? Someone is gonna want to do it.
You know,
Anyway.
you gotta know when to shoot your shot. And
There
I think this is John's time right now.
you go. Fair.
Right.
We got to figure. John has a lot of. I guess he's like super committed right now. But if we get him single, I think there's going to be some shenanigans.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like, how do you have both Superboys be queer? And it's like, well, why not? But
I'm
you're totally right.
No, I mean, why not is
Why
totally
not?
the answer. But I respect Connor and his sexual identity, and I support him getting all the ladies. I love his 90s Superboy outfit.
Yeah.
So excited for that miniseries coming up.
Oh, yes.
So this kind of ties into what we're talking about. But do you have a guess as to which DC Comics character could come out of the closet next, or just a personal wish?
Oh God, I'm always so scared to answer things like this. But
you cannot if you don't
no,
want to.
who would be a good? I'm really like where my head is right now. I want more queer villains. Like I want like a lot of queer villains.
Yeah.
And I like trying to think of like who in like the Bat family or the Superman family. Like you know what I mean? Like I just like different kinds of. I wrote the ventriloquist for a Gotham Urban Legend story,
Ooh.
and I was like, you're kind of like I see you.
Yeah.
I see you.
Dropping that vibe.
Yeah, something's going on there. But no, who do I want? Bunker. Kid Devil. Although Kid Devil and Ravager kind of had a thing going, so maybe Kid Devil's bi.
Yeah. I'm down
but
with that.
I always thought that there was like there's a spark between Kid Devil and Blue Beetle, but they might just be besties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Well, if you get more issues.
We're just we're manifesting.
I'm expecting Bluepulse first. We
Oh,
need to
no.
establish that.
Well, I mean, no, Jaime is single and heterosexual and ready to mingle. And believe me, if I get the opportunity, he's going to be put through the ringer romantically.
Good. Love it.
Yeah. I have a couple ships in my head, but
Ooh.
I cannot spoil those because who knows? Maybe they will become a reality someday.
Well, okay. Well, we will wait patiently.
We love some good angst over here.
Yeah.
We're saying how joyful this was, but I want to cry too.
A little heartbreak never hurt anybody.
No, he hasn't had I don't think he's had a real steady thing since Tracy 13. So it's time for Jaime to get back in the scene.
So what comics have you been enjoying, and do you have any recs for our listeners?
Sure. What am I reading right now? I'm reading X-Men Red, which I know this is a DC podcast, but I will say that Al Ewing is my king. I think he's the best writer at Marvel right now. I just read so good. I just read Behold Behemoth with Tate Brown-Bell and Nick Robles. That was fantastic. Terry Blas did a Nova miniseries for Marvel Unlimited that was really good. And like Nova is not queer, but it is a very queer story. And it features Viv Vision, who is slowly becoming like a trans icon, which I really approve of.
Really? I did not know that. I knew she's a lesbian, right?
Yes, but there's a beautiful essay written in Marvel Voices about the interpretation of Viv as trans. And that kind of like put the character in a new context for me. And I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, I love that.
Let's see, what am I reading? I read Batman Urban Legends. I love anthologies, so I love like that mix and match of different styles. Julio Anta just did one for my girl Renee Montoya that was really good because she's going to be the new police commissioner of Gotham City, which is the worst job in Gotham City.
I know. How long can she live?
I'm like, this is not going to go well for you, Renee, but I'm happy for you to go on this journey.
Her name is not Jim Gordon, so she might have an expiration date.
I hope she has a long run as commissioner and then goes back to being the Question someday.
Yes.
Or both. Like you can have it all.
Oh, both at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
Those are my big reads at the moment. I've actually been doing a lot of homework for just DC stuff in general and some Marvel stuff, but I've been rereading I have 52 coming my way. I have all the paperbacks arriving to my house shortly. I just kind of wanted to catch up on what was my favorite superhero story, and like DC 52 collectively was amazing. I don't know if you read it week to week, but it was an event.
I'm a newer comic reader in terms of DC, so I've been going back and reading New 52,
Yeah.
at least like
No,
the Bat title.
Oh, not New 52.
Oh, okay.
52. So
No. Okay.
after Infinite
Educate me.
Crisis, please, for those of us just who are newer to the DC universe, welcome. You're
you.
sleeping on Infinite Crisis, which was a great event. And then spinning out of it, they flash forwarded the DC universe 1 year later. And so all of the new titles after the crossover took place 1 year after the crossover had ended. So what happened in between? You have all these lingering mysteries. So it's like, I can't even remember what some of them were, but like, this character is this identity. This character lives in this city now. And like all sorts of, they're dating, they're not dating. A lot of these questions. And so they came up with a mini series to address this, a 52-part mini series. I guess it's just a series at that point, but
yeah,
it's called 52. And so is this series that went week to week in real time of what happened during that missing year. And during this year, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman are all off the table because of the events of Infinite Crisis. And so it's really everyone else in the DC universe. What does that world look like without the Trinity? And so you see stories focusing on Booster Gold, Steel, who's maybe my favorite DC hero after Jaime, Renee Montoya, all these different heroes. And the stories kind of intersect into the different pockets of the DC. Black Adam has a big storyline in it.
So it was kind of giving I don't want to say smaller characters, but like lesser known characters, like a chance to shine.
Yeah, I would say that's definitely it. And it's so well written. It was like Greg Rucka, Jeff Johns, Grant Morrison, and Mark Waid, I want to say.
Ooh.
So it's really like these incredible writers at the time, like doing their best. So I'm reading 52. I'm also reading Grant Morrison's Seven Soldiers again. And that's kind of where my head is. I have these DC Who's Who omnibuses that I got the first one. I think the second one comes out in a couple months. But basically it's like this fat collection of all the DC characters, and it like was made in the 80s. So it's not entirely up to date, but you're like, oh, Black Condor, okay. Or like just like various kind of oddball characters you don't see much of. And so that's been filling my brain with the weirdness that is the beauty of the DC universe.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite kind of random, weird, not mentioned often character in the DC universe?
Yes. What can I say? Let's see. There is a character from Seven Soldiers named Gimmicks, Gimmix.
Ooh.
She is a modern update of a character called Mary the Gimmick Girl.
Ooh.
So Mary the Gimmick Girl's deal is that she is like this do-gooder crime fighter, and she has this bag of tricks, and it's just like a bag filled with like, I use this term lovingly, girly things like hairbrushes and like soap and like lipstick, but they all have like a gimmick to it. The lipstick is like acid, or like the hairspray is like smog, or what, you know what I mean? Like just stuff like that. And so that was cute. Mary's deal. Gimmicks is the modern incarnation of Mary the Gimmick Girl. And so she's like a femme fatale whose like bag is like, is it mystical? Is it, what's going on in that bag, girl? And like,
I have to detract this to Young Avengers because that's my favorite. So I have to ask, do you have like a favorite Young Avenger character? I'm assuming it might be Hulkling or Wiccan, or like a favorite part of their story in the past.
Yeah, love Hulkling and Wiccan. Obviously, they're my faves. I like grew up with them in a lot of ways. Like they were like before DC, I think, was really fully embracing queer rep. Marvel was taking baby steps and doing Wiccan and Hulkling, who weren't even allowed to kiss for like years, by the way. Like now I can write a comic and they're just like making out on every panel, which is how I like it.
Yes.
Yeah, we have implied royal room sex. I love it.
It took a long time for us to get there, but we did it, guys. We did it.
Yeah, we did it.
We did it.
So let's see, who else do I like on the Young Avengers? I really like Prodigy. I thought he was such a smart addition to the cast, and he's like, I love smart characters. I wish I was better at, I wish I was smarter to write them myself.
Oh my gosh.
That's something I always think about. I'm like, oh, I'd love to do whoever, like Mr. Terrific from DC. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Josh, you're not that smart. He's the smartest guy in the universe.
Hey, you wrote riddles for the Riddler,
I wrote
right?
some
Yeah,
riddles.
we think you're smart.
Yeah, I got my highlights for children riddle book out, and I was like, okay.
Riddles for dummies.
Perfect. Oh, love it.
So again, if this is a question you want to be vague about, please feel free.
Oh,
But
sure.
if you had the chance to tell a story in a DC Pride anthology, could you share with us a little of what you would like to do? Maybe like a character or a couple that you would love to get your hands on. And again, no pressure if you don't want to give like
sure.
specific details.
The first one that comes to mind, well, two, okay, three. Okay.
Please, all of them.
Yes,
Yes.
all of them. So Alan Scott Green Lantern, he is
Ooh,
one of my
yes.
ride or dies. I love that. I love the story of him kind of coming out later in life. I think that's very true to life. I think that makes him a better character and adds so much depth and like really informs his relationships with like his children Jade and also Obsidian, who he kind of kept at arm's length through much of the 70s and 80s and 90s. So for him to have to like embrace his own queerness and like also like re-accept his son, who he kind of kept away for a while, is really interesting to me. But also two characters I'm wrapping my head around these days, Apollo and Midnighter.
Yes, they're my guys.
Yeah. I love they are just our I don't know, violent world's finest, you know. They're just edgy and cool, and like I love them. I was excited when they popped up in Superman and the Authority recently.
Yeah.
I want to see more of them in the future. So I know that there's a lot of demand for Apollo and Midnighter in particular.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't had a story in one of the Pride anthologies yet. Like Midnighter popped up, but like not together. Maybe you can do it next year.
Yeah,
We
can
will
manifest.
petition for you. Yeah.
We'll just will it into existence.
Exactly.
Hey, we have a good track record so far. So.
Yeah, we willed Tim Drake's queerness into existence on this show. So
Yeah, I mean, every queer character is someone I'd love to write for. Batwoman was huge for me, and the Renee Montoya question.
Yes.
So honestly, whenever they do these Pride anthologies, I'm just like, I'm just over the moon about every character they decide to include, and then like Dreamer. I don't know. We just like we've got all the fun toys right now. Like we're rocking it.
It's true. Like DC is really sprinting ahead right now. Like and it just feels so genuine too, which I think is just as important.
Yeah. So we have one of our favorite kind of silly questions is, what is your DC Comics hill you will die on? Either silly or super specific. An example of one we have had people say in the past is whether or not Batman eats pussy.
Okay.
This is an explicit podcast, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna necessarily touch that one. Although I would say, Batman is highly trained in many arts, and I think that's within his wheelhouse. But who might ride or die? I'm trying to. What are some weird headcanons that I have? I mean, the Tim Drake Connor Kent one is like obviously like fresh in my mind.
100%.
Totally non-canon, but in my head it's like,
hey,
no, this is it.
We're halfway there.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe.
Oh God, who do I don't know. My ride or dies are like, I like these kind of like orphans of continuity. Like I like characters that kind of don't maybe exist sometimes, like Donna Troy.
Yeah.
Like Donna Troy is like my girl, and I was like, when are you, like, we need to give you a moment. Like you're overdue. Our like kind of slighted princess, semi-princess of the Amazons. So I'd say Donna Troy is my favorite Amazon, maybe. No, that's right. I think that's right. So I'd say the hill that I'm dying on is Donna Troy is the greatest of all Amazons, and her time has come.
Oof, I like it.
That is
I like
valid.
it. Yes.
Well, Josh, this has been such a great
delight
chat. I'm so glad you came. Where can our listeners find you on social media? And do you have any upcoming projects they should be looking out for?
Sure. You can find me on social media, whether it be Instagram, Hive, Tumblr, Twitter. at Lost His Keys Man. And so there's a Josh Trujillo who has my name. So unfortunately, he beat me to the punch. But looking ahead, Hulkling and Wiccan runs weekly on Thursdays through the end of the year. And then beyond that, Blue Beetle runs a monthly. I think it's usually the last week of the month until April, which is super exciting to me. And I'm doing an Agretzico miniseries with the amazing Abigail Starling that is wrapping up in December. Abigail is the premier Sanrio style cute animal artist. And the best thing about Agretzico is that you get to have really cute animals say really mean things to each other.
Love it.
And so that's been one of the joys of my existence, is working with her on this. So good stuff in the offing, and then a couple projects I can't talk about this time, but next time.
Oh
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you doing a Kickstarter? Is it a pool boy?
Oh yeah.
Story?
So I earlier this year, my great collaborator Josh Cornian, we created a comics mini one shot called Pool Boys, and it's a romance between a demon and a pool boy at a Palm Springs style resort.
Love
And
it.
so it's very like sultry and seductive, but like, you know, you can read it on the subway. And so we did a Kickstarter for that in June, and it blew way past our expectations. And it was so popular. We're doing adding a bonus story for all of our backers, and we're getting that drawn this month. And so we're shipping those out in December, hopefully. And we'll probably have things on our web store come January or so. But we're already committed to doing the follow-up. So if you want to get on the ground floor of Pool Boys, follow me or Josh Cornian on social media. Josh does also these amazing X-Men fan arts of like,
oh my gosh,
Himbo Angel.
I bought the zine at FlameCon.
Oh yeah, or Bottom Bobby, or like any of his,
Yes.
like the way he interprets these X-Men and make them big sluts is so fun.
It's what I've always
Love it.
wanted.
Yeah.
No, I love that collab. Love it. I donated to Pool Boys, so that's how I knew. I was like, wait a
Perfect.
second.
Yours will be in the mail soon, I promise.
I think I did digital.
Oh, perfect. Yours will be in the email soon.
Well, thank you again. And come back
Yeah.
anytime. We cannot wait to read the rest of this series and anything else you're writing.
Yeah,
of course.
100%.
Thank you so much for having me and for chatting, and for confirming my belief that Tim Drake and Connor Kent are one true pair.
Oh, absolutely.
No offense
is-
to Cassie. Cassie's cool. Like, she can hang, and just like
Okay, they literally like the other week just did. Tim was like, hey, I'm sorry that we got together when Connor died. I didn't understand how I was feeling at the time. And it was like I was gay for Connor then. But they didn't straight up say it.
But it was there.
Do you remember Tim Drake cloning Connor, or trying to
Yes!
clone
Yes.
Connor?
Oh, yes.
Calls him my clone boy. Come on.
My clone boy. Oh,
Ugh.
You're
That
gonna
scene
write
where
it one day.
They're coming out of the closet, getting their clothes back on. No explanation for that.
I need a supercut. I just need a TikTok of all those like moments.
Oh, I think TJ probably has them if you want them. You have a
There are
folder.
Twitter threads.
Yeah, I was gonna
got
say you have
you.
a folder on your phone, right?
Like, I remember when the Connor Hawk, the Green Arrow character,
Yes.
came out as asexual.
Yes.
And the editors and the writers did so much homework to confirm this is like a long-running thread through the character. It's not something that's made up or decided on a whim.
Sure.
It was really in the character's DNA. And like, I was like, wow, that's so impressive. And like, you know, if the time comes, I'm ready. I'm ready, Connor. Connor Kent.
Yeah, I mean, these threads already exist. We got the evidence.
Yeah.
We got the receipts.
we have the receipts, exactly.
Thank you for listening to the Gotham Outsiders. You can find me, Chris, on Twitter at The Myth of Psyche, where I talk about feminism, psychology, and Batman, of course. But you can also find me on my new show at Thirsty on Tune, over on the Talking Comics feed, where Bronwyn and I review webtoons and drink wine, and also review romance novels. You can also find me writing reviews at talkingcomics.com, and I am now accepting consulting clients. So if you need someone to do sensitivity reading or consult on psychology or queer identity, I'm your person. You can also find my co-host TJ
at Troyfin2 on Twitter, where I talk about books, gay things, gay books, and all sorts of things, including Batman pretty often, way more than I used to. And I recently became an official librarian. So you can find all sorts of book reviews that I post just for fun, a lot of advanced reviews of books that haven't come out yet. So if you're looking for a nice gay read, please hit me up. You could also find me talking on other podcasts just here and there if you search my name on any podcast service provider that you listen to.
And you can find us both talking about Batman all the time at the Gotham Outsiders. So join us next time. Same bat time, same bat place.